Draven is a high physical damage carry. He has a moderate attack range and movement speed, though he can gain bursts of movement speed through the use of one of his abilities. Draven's passive is Wicked Blades. When Draven critically strikes an opponent or lands an attack modified with his Spinning Axe ability, a brief damage over time effect that deals physical damage is applied to the enemy. This damage over time effect can overlap, meaning multiple critical strikes or Spinning Axe attacks in a short period of time will deal more damage than a single application of the effect. Draven's Spinning Axe grants Draven a buff. While the buff is active, his next normal attack is modified to deal significant bonus physical damage and apply the Wicked Blades debuff. The bonus physical damage benefits from lifesteal. If Draven misses his opponent with the normal attack, such as while blinded, the Wicked Blades debuff is still applied and the axe still bounces back. The moment a normal attack modified by Spinning Axe strikes a target, the axe then bounces back towards a location on the ground. This location is marked with a clear indicator and is visible to both allies and enemies. If Draven is at this location when the returning axe lands, he regains the Spinning Axe buff and his next normal attack will again be modified. In other words, Spinning Axe can be constantly refreshed. While standing still, the location that the Spinning Axe falls to is random and will be either directly on top of Draven or to either side of him. However, if Draven is moving at the time the modified normal attack strikes an enemy, the location for the returning Spinning Axe is placed in a path based on his travel direction and movement speed. This means a Draven who retreats after throwing an axe will have the axe land behind him, whereas a Draven who chases will have the axe land in front of his path. The axe will bounce back to a location even if the original target of the normal attack died before the attack struck. The Spinning Axe buff stacks twice and one stack is removed as he throws a normal attack. Practically speaking, this means he can modify 2 normal attacks in quick succession and will have 2 landing indicators to watch out for. This also means that during fights he can summon a 3rd Spinning Axe while at least one of the others is in flight. Both Spinning Axes are refreshed if the ability is off cooldown and activated, meaning it can be used while running between fights to avoid losing stacks. Additionally, it will automatically refresh while Draven is attacking structures, even though Spinning Axe will not deal bonus damage and will not bounce back. This ability does not interrupt movement. Draven's Blood Rush dramatically increases his movement speed for a brief moment. This movement speed bonus rapidly diminishes over the duration. Additionally, he gains significantly increased attack speed for a longer duration. The cooldown for Blood Rush is fully reset if he catches a Spinning Axe, meaning he can instantly activate the ability again. This ability does not interrupt movement. Draven's Stand Aside is a line skill shot that knocks enemies a short distance to the sides of its path. Additionally, this deals damage and briefly slows opponents. Stand Aside can break channeled abilities. This ability has a cast time and briefly interrupts movement. Draven's ultimate is Whirling Death. This is a skill shot that sends blades in a straight line across the map, granting vision and dealing physical damage to enemies they pass through. The damage is reduced with each subsequent enemy struck down to a moderate base minimum. If these blades strike a champion or reach the end of the map, they will slow down and turn around. From this point, they constantly adjust their direction towards Draven's current location, following his movement. While returning, they will reset back to their full damage and can deal damage to targets hit by the initial pass a second time. Enemies with a spell shield can block the damage from one pass, but will also cause blades on their first pass to turn around and will take damage from the second pass. Enemies can only be damaged once while the blades are heading out and once while they're heading back. If Draven dies before the blades start returning, they will not return to him even if they pass through enemy champions. When playing as Draven, there's a few things to keep in mind. Thanks to Spinning Axe and Wicked Blades, Draven's normal attacks are extremely powerful even at an early level. He is one of the strongest sustained damage champions in the league. However, his attack range is not exceptionally long, which means ranged opponents who are already at a distance from you can usually keep their distance from you even with your Blood Rush movement speed boost. For this reason, early game harassment is often going to rely on poor positioning from your opponents or good coordination with your support. Because of his range and his lack of sustainable long-range poke, a Draven player must constantly be aware of when they're pushing too far in teamfights, particularly when it leaves them vulnerable to burst and crowd control. All normal carry stats are very strong on Draven. Attack speed and critical strike increase the damage from his passive, where attack damage and lifesteal are both unusually strong on his normal attacks due to Spinning Axe. If you can partner with a player who increases attack speed such as Nunu, this will allow you to focus on other stats. Spinning Axe is the core of Draven's kit, with 2 other abilities directly dependent on it for him to reach his maximum potential. The first thing to say is that the bonus damage from landing Spinning Axe is very, very strong. When possible, you do want to be engaged in the minigame of throwing axes, particularly when farming minions. However, be careful against skillshot champions, particularly in the early game. If you're too focused on catching axes, they will be able to easily determine where you'll next run to and land their harassment on you. One thing you can do when attacking minions in the early game is to throw your axe and move backwards as the attack strikes, so the spinning axe will fall behind you. This allows you to very safely pick up the axe again. Unfortunately, catching axes can often be a direct hindrance to securing a kill. This is especially true while chasing an opponent, as axes may frequently stop in positions that are not directly along your path to an opponent. And in teamfights, reliably catching axes is often secondary to your positioning or your need to focus on other events. With very high attack speed and only 1 axe active, you may not be gaining much, if anything, by moving out of position to catch an axe instead of continuing normal attacks uninterrupted. Because of this, you must learn to evaluate when you should ignore axes. If you will secure a kill with another attack and you don't absolutely need either Spinning Axe or Blood Rush, it's almost always a good idea to go for that kill and ignore the axe that is out of your path. In teamfights, never lose focus on the actual fight just to watch your axes. When fighting structures, remember that your spinning axes are refreshed by attacking the structure. However, throwing a spinning axe at a nearby minion and catching it is helpful to do every few seconds to benefit from the attack speed from Blood Rush. When using Blood Rush, keep in mind that a single spinning axe can refresh it. For this reason, feel free to use it while running across the map. Additionally, you will need to get used to reactivating Blood Rush frequently after spinning axes. It is nearly spammable when you're catching axes, and it is an enormous boost to your damage output. As a note, this is also very helpful when fighting Dragon and Baron Nashor. Don't use Stand Aside for damage in the early game unless you're sure you won't need the slower Knock Aside from it. Even so, it is a relatively weak damage ability and the cooldown and mana cost are prohibitive, so consider harassing with other tools unless necessary. Combine Stand Aside and Blood Rush to escape from enemies more effectively. Whirling Death, Draven's ultimate, is fairly straightforward. During teamfights, it can be used to saturate an enemy team with damage, especially if they're packed together in tighter areas such as a jungle, and will take both hits. During fights, use it on low health opponents just as they leave your normal attack range or use escape abilities. Because the blades are quick, it's better to aim them closer as it's much harder to dodge at close range. Whirling Death is great for long-range snipes on low health targets. If you don't have vision, guess where they're recalling or moving and snipe. This can be easier when done from the base and directly down the length of a lane. When playing against Draven, it's ideal to bring long-range champions, particularly those with slowing mechanisms. While Draven is an extremely potent enemy, he cannot effectively harass opponents who are at a distance. For crowd control, slows and silences are both very effective against him as they both disrupt his Blood Rush movement speed. Since Draven's Wicked Blades apply a damage over time effect that lasts several seconds, you can deter him from attacking a tower by baiting him into attacking you first. The tower will immediately attack him if you're in range and he moves in while you're still taking damage. It goes without saying that you should avoid recalling or moving in obvious places while you're at low health. Draven must move relatively close to opponents he's attacking. Because of this, he is very vulnerable to flanking and burst-heavy champions with gap closers. If you're playing a fighter with a gap closer, consider focusing him down. Armor is very effective against all of his abilities, and Thornmail is situationally effective due to his complete dependence on strong normal attacks. Thanks for watching this Don't Feed. Be sure to subscribe with the button on the upper right. Check out my previous movie in this series, Don't Feed Diana, by clicking the movie thumbnail on the right. I've written a book on League of Legends called Learn the League. If you love these movies, I strongly recommend checking out the book at www.learntheleague.com. I stream League of Legends Monday through Friday here on YouTube at about 2 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure you like me on my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter for updates. As always, check the movie information box below for general thoughts and series updates, and let your friends know about this series to help promote it in the League of Legends community. Also, make a post on the official League of Legends forum thread linked below if you really enjoy the series.